All right, so the Independent American is here with
Dave the sound guy.
How you doing?
You know how I'm doing.
So
don't waste these people's time.
I know, we're wasting everybody's time here. Hey, it's an inaugural show, so what do you want? Let's get in the kinks work, though.
Let's get right into the new iPhone.
New iPhone that's coming out, huh? $1,000 for them to sit there and be able to scan your face.
This is really disturbing. I'll tell you, it's not just scanning your face to recognize your face. This thing can actually, to some degree, read your emotions. This is really invasive. I mean, this is one more step to just implanting these things in our skull somewhere.
But Snapchat and all that has the filters that all have facial recognition software in them anyway. At this point,
right?
So I mean, you were just taking that and you're just putting it up to an even greater level by being able to say, all right, you use this instead of using on the iPhone. I have an iPhone 7, so you use a little home button on there. You can punch in your passcode. Now this way, they're saying you'll be able to open up your phone just by having the phone look at you in the face. So now it's pretty much as like they're going to sell it on the whole thing of nobody can guarantee a phone but you, because if you have that feature on, that's it. Ultimate in privacy. That's how they market it.
Right.
But what's the real?
People are going to buy it based on that. But
what's the real?
There are a lot of look into. I would tell people to look into it yourself and see what can be determined, or what they believe can be determined by your facial features and your expressions. They know to some degree, just with the technology that's already on your current phone, what happens and what expression you make when somebody likes something of yours on Facebook. They know that you get that little dopamine hit, and it's it's come to the point where there's really not much left that they can do while keeping the machine outside of your body. I mean, it's reading your face and your expressions. The only step left to really knowing what you're thinking is being inside of your mind somehow and being able to detect how you're thinking, which sounds like conspiracy nonsense, but they've been mapping the brain in real time for years. It's not new technology, and of course they use it for research with product testing and things like that.
Well, from what I've read up a little bit on it, I can see that even with the new iPhone coming out, that they have that whole facial recognition, that they can it's actually made so that you can actually put your phone on a table, just like I have it sitting there in front of us, and the phone can pretty much pick up the faces of anybody sitting in front of it. So now you're going to sit there and worry about the person that's sitting there in a group with you has that on their new iPhone to look cool. Look what I got. My phone turns on by looking at my face. Yeah, and when you have that phone sitting on the table in front of us, it's looking at all of our faces. That's an invasion of privacy.
You know what's funny is you go back and read 1984 now and say, I wish it was just the TVs. I wish it was just one ministry of truth that at least you knew they were full of it.
It's everything.
It's yeah.
Because now what they're saying is that not only what will happen is that this has a patent on it, obviously, but in time patents are up, and then the technology is going to be available to whoever else. So of course, obviously now this will go on to Microsoft and Google, and they'll all have their version of their smartphones will have it. Windows. All those smartphones will have it, and then, within about 5 to 7 years, what do you think, was it 10 years for a patent? Between 5 and 10, I think it's between 5 and 10 years for a patent to be up. Once that's 5 to 10 years.
Depends on, I think, what it's a patent for.
Well, whenever the patent, I know Nextel, when they had the Nextel phones, there was a patent on the push to talk for only so long. I know. And then what happened was once that patent was up, Verizon got into it, Sprint got into it, then Sprint acquired Nextel, but before that, Verizon had to push the talk feature. So as soon as that patent was up, the other companies jumped right on top of that technology.
Right.
So what will happen is within about 10 years or so, or within the next 10 years, this will be on every smartphone out there, and you will not know if you're safe from any of them. And for that to be even able to be an option, for them to do that, it's one of our rights being taken away from us.
Well, we're gonna have to see what happens. All we can do is, to the best of our ability, make people aware of it. This is what's going on. This is where it could lead, and in part, this is where it's already led. You have your photograph taken thousands of times every day.
Yeah, but what if
for the most part, whenever you're in a public building, whenever you're in a public place, you should assume that you're being filmed. That's the reality of our day-to-day now.
Yeah, but that's in a public place. But this isn't in your home. This person could be in your home. Like I'm in your home right now. Think about it. This thing is on right here. If this was an iPhone 10, it'd be looking at you and I here in a private residence where where you should be able, you believe you're free from being surveilled on the outside.
Well, I think everybody should be aware by now that any device that you have that
Well, your
has a
TVs,
signal,
smart TVs,
that has any kind of a signal, especially a wireless signal, is capable of being hacked into.
Yeah.
Not only by the manufacturer, who can basically access your device anytime it wants to, and if it is ordered to do so by the right government entity, will do so on their behalf. Not that they need it, but this is something, this facial recognition software, this is something entirely new. And it's different from the Snapchat filter, although I would not surprise me to find out that a lot of the beta testing for this was done with that.
So Snapchat filters. What happened was Snapchat got the filters, and then I know if you do, when you go on Facebook, they have your pictures that you can actually do those filters now with your pictures on Facebook if you take it through the Facebook app.
That's can I tell you, one of my favorite things about not being on Facebook anymore is not being on Facebook anymore. Facebook is like where dreams go to die. It's honestly,
dreams go to die and snowflakes go to melt.
But I watch people on Facebook or Instagram or any one of these, and it's like The Walking Dead. How much worse is it going to get when this thing basically is melded with your face digitally, and now you have an M. Have you heard about these things?
What?
Oh, look it up. We won't even get into it now because it would take forever. But look up what is an M, EM, and we'll talk about that next week. Interesting stuff. We're going to have to get into the AI thing. We're going to have to make that.
The AI thing is definitely going to tie into all
really
this.
get into that because there's a lot going on in the field of artificial intelligence and sentient technology, and I think we really need to take a look at it and see where it's going, what the possibilities are, and where this is going to go in the near future.
So let's see what else is going on out there. So kind of a breaking story over here is Trump actually worked out a deal, or agrees to work out a deal with the Democrats to save the Dreamers.
That was a smart way to do it. First of all, there was no way for him to push against this and not be completely vilified by the mainstream media. Standing on principle is important, but I think in his position he has to be able to show that he can compromise, and especially with the racial tension and the way he's perceived. Now, I'm not saying that this is how he actually feels, but the way he's perceived is that he is against all immigrants, specifically immigrants from Mexico and South America. Again, that's not the case. I don't personally believe that. I think that he has a problem with illegal immigration, and especially with lax border security, which I completely agree with.
That's one of the things he was voted in for.
Right.
So, I mean, there's millions of people out there that agree with that.
And I'm all for border security. Walls make me nervous, and, say what you will, but any wall that keeps them out keeps us in. So, do with that what you will. It's just my take on it personally. But I think that, for one, it's got to stop going forward. That should be non-negotiable, because we can't just continue to have young children being brought in, again.
Well, you save the ones that are here now.
Right. Well, and the ones that are here now, I don't want to see anybody getting deported to a country that they haven't seen since they were 3 years old.
No, you don't want to do that.
But at the same time, you don't just get grandfathered in with citizenship. There's a
pathway to citizenship. That's what you get
that millions of people take because it's worth it. Because it's worth it. It's still worth it to go through that process and do it the right way to become a citizen of this country. And that, I think, it needs to be made accessible. And, I'm all for helping these people get into that process, because we're not still talking about kids. In the main, we're talking about adults who came here as children.
Yeah.
So, no other crimes other than the immigration stuff, and willing to participate in the steps that it takes to become a citizen, had it been done the right way, which takes years, and be diligent in that process. Then
kind of
yes,
streamline
I think
it for
that,
him almost.
and I don't even want to say streamline it. I want to say make it available the same as somebody coming in, and applying. You know what I mean? Day one.
So they start out day one from there.
Exactly. So if you are an otherwise law-abiding, I don't want to say citizen because that's the goal, but if you are obey the laws otherwise, and are willing to participate in that process, go through all the steps, go through all the vetting, and not for nothing, but also go through the language classes.
Yeah,
and
they got to know English.
Right.
None of this English is a second language. It's their language is going to be a second language. English is the language of this country.
That's such a sticking point for people. You get so upset about that. But the plain and simple truth of it is our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our laws are all written in English. If you are going to obey those laws, if you're going to live by that Constitution in this country, you need to be able to understand it, and it doesn't translate.
But it's not just that. Here's what I look at it, okay? As far as learning, them having to learn English. When the Irish came here, when the Italians came here, when the Jews came here, nobody sat there had to learn how to speak Italian. The whole country didn't have to learn how to speak Italian. The whole country didn't have to learn how to speak Gaelic. The whole country had to learn how to speak Yiddish. These people came here. My family came here. You have Irish in you, don't you?
Oh yeah.
So your ancestors came here, and they had to learn the way of life here, which includes the language.
And
why is it going to change?
Throughout our history, there's always been, there have always been ethnic neighborhoods where immigrants first came to, and they
stuck together. Their own little community.
There's still Chinatown and Koreatown.
Brighton Beach in New York City, where all the Russians were coming into.
Right. So there are other people there that speak your language, that share your culture, but the goal of that was to help you to kind of ease your transition, and we've gotten away from that, and we've gotten to where people will come to this country and then they'll only speak their native language. Most of the time it is Spanish, and don't really ever bother to learn English, and it will cause problems. Like, you're not doing a service to people by saying, you know what, don't bother to learn the language of our laws, but then when you break the laws, you're still going to be subject to them. It's not helpful to immigrants to translate certain things and make them readily available, such as, government assistance applications, but you don't do the same thing with every state law, every federal law that they're expected to follow living in this country.
Agreed.
Now, we've already established that ignorance of the law is no excuse, so what does that do? That sets people up to fail.
Well, then the whole thing is have them learn the language. When they first come here, before they learn it, you have it right now. You have anytime you have any type of public assistance, they go to any type of government building. If a person comes and doesn't know how to speak the language, they can get a translator that works in the building. All right. So when they first come here and they're getting everything done, use the translation services they have. But once you get all your services taken care of, you're getting on that pathway to citizenship. Take the classes, learn the language, so there's no language barrier. There's no communication breakdown, because if we can't understand each other, how are we going to get anywhere? And these people come in here, the broken language, they can't speak the language, and if there are people out there that it pisses them off.
And it's also if people are coming here for opportunity, it's really going to limit the opportunity, because if you're a native English speaker, or you speak English and then you also speak Spanish, that's helpful in a lot of positions.
Yeah, bilingual. They look for a lot of bilingual positions.
Right. But if you only speak Spanish and don't speak the English,
it's not going to help you at all.
Right. Exactly. It's going to limit you more than, being something that provides an opportunity.
When they go looking for a job, also, like I said, if they can't speak English, they go looking for a job. They go into the job interview. How can you talk to somebody for the job? How are you going to talk to the hiring manager? How are you going to talk to the human resources? Yeah, they might have a Spanish-speaking person in there. That's all right.
They might.
All right, they might,
but if they have one person in the office and they happen to not be there.
Exactly. But then when they go out on the, in the work, when they go out to the job itself, and if there's, chances are there's going to be people that can speak the language that they speak, but chances are there's going to be a lot of people there that can't speak their language, and it's how are you going to train that person?
What if you're in a hospital and there doesn't happen to be anybody there that can translate?
They
encourage nurses and doctors, first responders, anybody that would be in that situation to learn Spanish, but that's not to say that they all do, first of all, or that there's going to happen to be somebody there that can help. If you can't say what's wrong with you and have people understand.
Well, hospitals usually have translators.
Usually they do, but if there's only one translator and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and the translator happens to not be around, what do you do? Yeah. Right. That is most definitely a situation that could happen. You're not going to run into a situation where you're in a hospital in America and nobody speaks English.
Yeah, exactly.
So
they're all going to speak English. Yeah.
I just want to say, as far as the DACA, the Dreamers, I think that most people, even whether they're liberal or conservative, I think most people in this country agree that there's some gray area here. We don't want to see a bunch of people. We don't want to see our neighbors and coworkers getting packed into buses and driven to Tijuana. But we want to see security in this country. We want to know that being citizens of this country still means something. Okay, that it doesn't just apply to everybody who is able to, make it past the, it has to mean something. And if you're not someone who's born here, then it's worth going through the process to become a part of it. The same way every immigrant for at least the last 100 years has done. And we're back. Dave the sound guy.
Had a little technical difficulty there.
Yeah, it was.
But
this is yours.
Oh, so
your fancy. That was that your girl's lighter?
Yeah, I grabbed her later.
Yeah,
well,
right.
it's not pink, all right? So let's give me that much.
Oh, excuse me. So
to wrap up on the whole Dreamers issue, we just come here, go through the process just like all of the other people did that came here, our ancestors, the people that came from their countries, that came the right way, the legal way, the path to citizenship.
it's totally worth it.
It's worth it for them.
It really is, man.
But the
you
thing
get
is,
to own guns.
the one thing I want to say before I move on to the next thing is that the way I look at it is this: when you're here, you're a citizen and you're a contributing member to the society. That's great, all right. But what happens is that when they come in and we're taking care of these people, when we don't. We're taking care of these people when we don't have the money to even take care of ourselves. We can't pay. We get homeless people on the streets. They're out there. You can't do anything for them, but we're going to help these people that are coming in here that just, hey, we made it across the border, so now we want free housing. We want clothing. We want food. We want all these things we can get our hands on because, hey, we're illegal immigrants. We can get whatever we want. We've been promised pretty much. They're coming here on a promise. As soon as they come through that border, they're given everything they wanted. And don't have to really worry about it. And they can keep on going on with it. So yeah, we don't need to have.
And here's the thing: is I get it. I get it. If I was living in a third world country, family starving to death, and I thought that there was an opportunity to give my kids something better, short of putting them at risk of getting shot trying to cross, I would probably do just about anything in my power to do that.
But it's not just those type of people coming over here.
No, I know
there are
that.
people coming here
and
with
that's
bad
the difference
intentions.
is
That's
when
the
you
problem.
and that's the difference is when you say, listen, if you're an otherwise law-abiding citizen, person, whatever, come forward, and we're going to offer this amnesty. And anyone who doesn't probably has some kind of criminality in their past.
They're trying to hide.
They don't want it. Exactly.
They don't want
exactly.
it.
So it's going to make it a lot easier,
Well, if you're going to do it, I can understand doing it that way. That would be one idea of how to handle it. But I think as far as what we have coming in here now, we need to stop the influx of illegal aliens coming in. We need to help the people the dreamers that are already here, give them their chance, put them on that path to citizenship, go back to day one, boom, let them put in their time, do what they got to do. Don't let any more in. That's it. Not illegal. You want to come in here, like you said, that idea. Offer amnesty to the people that have no record, that are just coming here for a better way of life. That's what this country was all about, was to bring in, give us your poor, But we're taking in these people that have nothing. If that's what we're gonna say, if that was what we were saying, give us your tired, give us your poor, and bring them into this country, all right? And we still go by it. We never changed it. We still say it. Give us your tired, give us your poor. Come on in. Become citizens of this country, and become a working member of society, and put in towards the collective whole.
They actually did change it in 1982. It became Land of the Free, Home of the Whopper.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So moving on.
So move on out of that, because that's just a whole bunch of crap to get into.
But can we stop calling them dreamers?
Let's call them illegals.
It just reminds me of Motley Crue.
All right. So, how about North Korea? Mnuchin suggests to cut off trade with China. That seems to be an option now.
I think it's this is just my take on it. From my little corner of the industry, it would be probably disastrous. We'd be looking at about a year at the very least to even get manufacturing set up to start to meet the demand of goods that we place now on China. Do the test. Go walk around your house, pick up 5 items, and see
all
how
made in
many.
China.
Yeah, exactly.
5 out of 5.
I think if it's seen by China as a credible threat, it could be helpful in the North Korea situation. But I don't know that it will be. I think that China, they obviously they have checked their ledger recently. There's also the issue of debt. There's also the fact that China is now looking at no longer using the dollar
to trade
in oil. So
they want to go to a different currency.
Well, they want to use their own currency,
yeah.
and it seems as though Venezuela is open to that. It looks like Russia. Russia is definitely on board because they want to do the same thing.
Yeah, they want to get rid of the petrodollar.
So
once the petrodollars, they stop trading in petrodollars, it's pretty much our economy is going to the shitter.
Well, it's going to be. It would be painful. It would be.
A dollar would have no value. It has no value now, but the only thing that's keeping it afloat is the petrodollar.
All right, now I'm done. That's true, but we're not without resources. If as a country, we were kind of able to really bear down and start getting back into some of the self-sustenance that we used to have, growing our own food, things like that, we'd be able to get through it. I mean,
with these fucking pansies out there that are running around with fucking, dressed up as men, dressed up as women, women dressed up as men, Antifa's running around with masks. The BLM's going to go out there and go farm their own food.
Okay, some of us are going to be all right.
Some of us are going to be all right. A lot of them are going to be trying to come take what a lot of us are trying to put our hard-earned money and hard-earned time and effort into to be able to feed our families. These people are going to try and come along and they're going to try and strong arm it and take it from you. Because they're not going to go out there and they're not going to do that.
Well,
and there's only so much you can get in the city.
There's a large portion of this country, I would probably say the vast majority, that really, outside of purchasing food and maybe doing some preparing, has no idea how to feed themselves or get water to a point where it's drinkable.
They don't know what they're doing. They have no idea what's going on. Everything's. They've taken the whole system of your water is drinkable out of the faucet. Food is there for you in the market. Clothes are there for you at the clothing store. You want to go to the mall and get a new shirt, that's fine. People used to actually make their own shirts at one point. You have women knitting freaking sweaters in the cold when it was cold out for the children because up until a point, country store, general stores around the country is in the 1800s? You have some kind of barter system, but these things weren't made in factories. These things were made by people that would sit there and make them. Knitting sweaters, making clothes, textile, textile mills at some point, but, the whole thing you look at is that there's a lot of people out there that just do not, like you said, have a clue how to fend for themselves. And the food's only going to last for so long. The water's only going to last for so long. The clothes on their back are only going to last for so long.
Well, put it this way. Hearing that they were going to get hit by Hurricane Irma.
You mean Hurricane Jose?
No, Hurricane Irma. Florida.
Florida, yeah.
The stores were empty in 4 hours.
Yeah. Well, that
That's
was yeah,
now. Imagine we're in a situation where there are no more deliveries coming to the stores.
Yeah, that stock's not getting replenished.
So again,
The company's taking a loss either way, but it's up to them to
multitudes.
replenish it. Well, I'm sure they got insurance to cover the loss from being looted, but
Right. But what I'm saying is that people are going to be out of food in 2 weeks.
yeah, there'll be nothing left. Nothing coming in, yeah. So they're gonna have to go out there and start fending for themselves. You know, you might have a family that has like a garden out there, maybe if it has a small farm or something. They're gonna be able to take care of themselves for a little, for a while longer.
Well,
Hopefully, till something straightens out or something's available or something becomes available, some kind of help or aid. But then again,
well, we're gonna set aside a half an hour and
really get into that.
Get into some of the aspects of prepping that people don't think about. One that I always like to mention is trying to find natural remedies for medicines that you take. If you're taking something every day and you're not able to get it, past a month's supply, it's once the deliveries stop coming to the stores, that's going to include pharmaceuticals, and you'll need to do something in order to say keep your blood pressure low. So there are other ways besides the medicines that you take to go about doing some of these things, especially pain relief, that are natural and you can manage on your own. It's good to know about these things, and also, when you're looking to get food and things like that into your house, don't overlook the other day-to-day things that you need, like TP or toothpaste, deodorant. I'll tell you something. 10 days in a basement after a disaster with half a dozen people, if you don't have deodorant, you're going to have a very hard time.
Yeah.
And
it's going to get pretty bad down there.
This is a weekend of camping with my boys, and I can't even walk in the tent.
Well, I would think dry shampoo.
Smell like feet and farts.
Oh God, yeah, that'd be no good. 10 days of that, you go crazy. Never mind just being stuck in a basement. Adds on to the insanity. No, like dry shampoo, deodorant, toothpaste, toilet paper, paper towel, anything like that.
All those things. Antacid. Also good for extra calcium because you're not going to really be able to keep milk around if you got no power. Nope. Had something. Lost it.
Well, hey, it happens, especially at 11.
And will continue to happen. I think we pretty much covered what we wanted to cover tonight.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, we got the sunspots.
Oh, yeah.
The sun shoots off the solar flares.
This is something. Take a look at these for yourselves, and these are really they're bizarre to look at.
The last one is especially bizarre. The one that was just done on the 10th. That is one that is a massive blowout. And you just see the halo from the explosion from the sun. It's just ridiculous. It just shoots right out. Actually, you get it's almost like a jet almost on, say, the northeast and the southeast corner of the sun where it's facing you. You just see just a jet on each one of those, on each side, just blow right out.
And then those particles just swarming through the through the whole frame. There's a massive burst of particles afterwards. So
you have a massive plasma.
We'll try and find a good maybe we'll try and embed that or put it in the description. Solar Ham Radio, solarham.com, I think, something like that. I don't know. We'll find it. Maybe we won't. Look it up for yourself.
Yeah. Look it up for yourself. Solarham.com.
They always do that. By the way,
don't always expect us to put the links in because sometimes things like that get overlooked. So.
And we're wrong. We
Yeah.
we can
We can be totally wrong. We're not claiming we're right here. This is just our opinion on things. This is how we look at things. Some of the things we out there we look at.
as much as we might try to get everything 100% right, there's gonna be disinformation. There's gonna be misinformation. Your government has legalized propaganda against you, not against Mother Russia. This is against you.
You are the enemy, pretty much.
Right. So don't just assume that the fake news is CNN, because there are fake news YouTube channels that they started 6 years ago
to get them embedded into the situation for when this stuff starts happening. Now you have those believers say, "Okay, we listen to so and so and say, hey, this guy's right on point." When maybe he's been on point in the past, but now he's just flying off the handle and going the way that the government
discrediting
wants
other people,
turning on someone they supported at one point, now demonizing them because they become an enemy of the state, so to say, or the enemy of the deep state.
Just kind of creating chaos and using probably 80% truth to do so. So even though I've kind of spotted some of these channels for myself, and not just YouTube channels, but other news outlets that are, claiming to be against the obvious media lies, it's still truth. First of all, when somebody's right too much of the time and predicts things too accurately, there's a reason that nobody's sources are that good.
Yeah. They get the right. They get the ultimate source.
And anyone who seems to really take a dogmatic stance on a politician, people, you saw a lot of it with Bernie Sanders.
Oh God, yeah.
And you saw a lot of it with Hillary, but it seemed really forced. There are people though that are like that with Trump as well, and in their eyes, he can do no wrong. And in my eyes, he's done a fair bit of wrong. I've tried to criticize when I see that it's appropriate to. And
let me just say this: on my end, I will admit, I was all for Trump. When I saw, when he first came in, when they had the first debate, and I'm looking at everybody on the stage, to me, he sat there and he said the things. It's not just him sitting there berating Megyn Kelly or talking down to Marco Rubio or talking down to Lion Ted, It was when he was speaking, the other people that were around him in those debates could not give you straight answers. They were all forced answers. They were answers they weren't true. They were just lies, and you could see through them. Trump sat up there, was kind of green about everything he did, but the thing is that you don't want a company man running the. You don't want a company, but you don't want one of these back pocket politicians sitting in the most powerful office in the country. To take a man that has very little political background, mostly is a real estate developer, made millions, billions pretty much. Yeah, right. He had a couple. His company went bankrupt a couple of times. He had businesses that went bankrupt in his company, but he had businesses that went bankrupt, a few of them. But he built them back up. So out of all these other candidates in the Republican Party, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not affiliated. I don't have an affiliation to one party or the other. I look at the best possible candidate and go for that person, whether they're Democrat or Republican. Democrats have dropped the ball in my eyes. At least the past 8 to 10 years, they have dropped the ball. I wasn't high on George Bush either, or Bill Clinton, to be honest with you. Any of them. Those guys. I say even. I was 10, 12 years old when Reagan. I was 12 years old when Reagan left office. So
it was.
I really
88
don't.
Was his last.
And I was 12. At 88, I was 12 years old. So what I look at it is that Reagan was the last president that actually had any standing. When he spoke, people listened. He made headway in foreign policy, We didn't have to worry about. He made it so that we didn't have to worry about putting an end to the Cold War for the time being. At that point, now we've rekindled the Cold War to become almost a
Well,
hot
he
war.
he deserves the credit more than, and again, this is allowing for probably about a 20-30% chance that the Soviet Union never broke up, and you know that may be a lot of what we're dealing with today.
True.
And it's also even money in my mind that Trump wasn't kind of the plan the whole time. Just to be totally honest, you can call me a tinfoil hat weirdo if you want, but again, if you needed a distraction in the White House, who better?
Well, yeah, no better than Trump, but that's what I'm saying is that Trump. I feel at the time. I'm saying at the time I felt he was the best person possible to run the country. Now that he's gone in there, and some of the things he has done have been questionable. All right, even second guessing, even when he goes. The thing about him is like the Twitter. The Twitter is so much. He's out there he's tweeting and tweeting and tweeting, and he just doesn't stop. It's like, so it's comical. Some of it's comical, but it's like some of the things he says is just like, man, you're the president of the United States.
Right. There was a better way to announce that you were gonna remove transgenders from military service than a tweet.
Yeah.
That might have should have came on the office letterhead.
Yeah,
not for nothing.
Not on Twitter.
You know what I mean? Because however you feel about transgenders in the military, and you know how I personally I don't feel that the military is a place for social experiments.
No, it's not. The military is not a social experiment.
And most veterans I know would and active service would agree with me.
Yeah.
That said, these people have taken the oath and are currently in the military service and deserve a at least I think
an explanation,
Yeah.
and some respect on the way out the door. And again,
Doing
I
honorable
agree.
discharge.
Honorable discharge or medical discharge or whatever you call it,
Yeah.
but also, that respect of, we appreciate that you served, albeit in a dress,
Yeah.
for the time that you did.
That's fine. But that's just one thing. But there's so many things. Just everything he's definitely not handled himself presidential all the time. We have
definitely not.
we have a
But that's
disaster.
kind of why we elected
But
him.
we have a disaster in Houston, and he's going to travel about tax reform. It's like, put the brakes on for a minute. Worry about what's going on. Give the tax reform thing a rest for a couple of days. It's going to get taken care of. It's going to be brought up in the Senate and in the House. So let's just worry about the things at hand. You have a hurricane hitting Houston at the time, and you had another one heading towards Florida. It's like you got disasters, you got natural disasters that are going to be impacting the southern part of this country. Worry about that. Then go on to tax reform when that's all taken care of. Once you get everything in order with the aid, with the hurricane relief aid for both states and all the people affected, then worry about the tax reform. We have other things we have to worry about. Worry about what's going on in North Korea. Worry about relations with Russia and China. Worry about what's going on with the Democrats and how we're trying to get things worked out in the Senate and in the House, and we just seem to be at a deadlock with everything that they're trying to do. Republicans dropping the ball on health care. He has to go and now it's like he has to work with the Democrats to get a health care bill done. So what is he doing? Is he doing this to try to fulfill his promises that he made, and his own party's not helping him? Is he going to these people just to light a fire under the Republicans' ass to say, "Hey, wake the hell up"? Because if you don't work with me to get my agenda done, then I'm going to go work on the other side. So I just think he just needs.
Honestly, it would be nice to see both sides maybe working in the best interest of the country.
Yeah, because he bipartisan effort like that.
Well, if this is an effort on his part to kind of start to bring that about and maybe get some cooperation going, I'm all for it. But I think that there are a lot of things on the Democratic agenda that we need to really scrutinize. You know, it's one thing to not try to repeal Roe versus Wade, which I don't think should happen, and I am pro-life, but I don't think that we should repeal Roe versus Wade because I think it'd be disastrous. You'd have medical students performing abortions in motel rooms for $300. That's the reality of it. That
True.
However you feel about abortion, unfortunately, it is now part of the world, and it's not going to go away.
No.
So, we deal with that and we move forward, and we hope that we can come to an agreement that when a woman is 8 months pregnant and this child is fully formed and can survive outside the room, that doctors will not then
do a late
term abortion and basically this is now
it's a human life.
It's a human life, and as I said, I do feel that life begins at conception, and I don't. So many people who are pro-life, they lay this blame on women. Most women are victims of abortion. First of all, the lifestyle that produces so many unwanted pregnancies, and then just the culture of, well, it's not even a big deal, you just get rid of it. That's something that has been so ingrained in people, and it's become such a just kind of a
way of
form
life.
Of birth control.
Way of life for these people. Some of these people going to get 6 abortions at a time. They go at 6 within a couple of years.
And how do you not feel bad for that person who can't develop any attachment to a life that's growing inside them? Like, how do you not have
devoid of
sympathy
all feeling
for that breaks my heart to know that there are people out there, that there are women out there who really can't feel. I know women who have had abortions and walked away and never had a second thought. And I know women who have had abortions and even if it was 20 years ago, still have pangs of guilt and think about what would have been and did they do the right thing. I have never seen the same. I've never seen a mother say that they wish, not seriously anyway.
No.
But say that they wish that they had not carried their child and had their child. As mad as parents get, I've never seen that kind of regret that I've seen from women who have gotten the abortion and then gone back to wonder if they had done the right thing. And
I wonder how their life would be if they had a child.
It's sad to see it, and
if they never end up having kids and they had an abortion at some point, they look back and they go, I could, what would have happened,
Well, and ask anyone who works in hospice or nursing care, people who are at the end of their life who have family and a legacy to pass on and things like that, they die happier. They die content.
Yeah.
On the whole, and it's sad to see it. It's something that I didn't think about much when I was younger, and the kind of the you were expected to say, no, I'm for a woman's right to choose. At what point is it not your choice anymore? That's the question. I know personally children who have been saved who were born at 4 and 5 months, who have gone on and who lived outside the womb from, they were halfway to the point where they would have been born without any complications, and they've gone on to survive and lead totally normal lives. So, at what point is it no longer okay to stop that beating heart?
I say if you do it first term is one thing, but after that, after 3 months, shouldn't be able to abort.
I think and I think that's
the furthest you could go. I think. I don't see second term, late term abortions. I just don't see that.
See that you're right. So that's a good place to start that conversation. Now, we end up where we end up, but it's
Even if
but it's how you have the conversation. It's how you so often it gets shut down as soon as you say, well, are there any limits? I mean, you will literally have people tell you that you should be able to abort up to 5 years old. I wish that was a joke. There is that argument's been made, not by a legislator, but
by
an
And
activist.
abort to 5 years old. All right, were you fucking stupid? That would just be. Anybody says that is just. How can they even be believable?
No.
How can they even be believable at that point?
Because the loudest voice is the one that's going to get heard.
Yeah, well, anybody says listen to that, it's going to be a problem right there. But, all right, so I think right now we're going to end it. We've pretty much gone over all the things we needed to go over for the night. And when we come back next week,
we're gonna get deeper into some of these topics. We definitely need to get into the AI, and I definitely want to address the Seattle mayor, Ed Murray, who is now resigning after a 5th allegation of child molestation. And this is not an isolated incident. This is just because he happens to be the mayor of Seattle and not some small town or a state representative in Oklahoma or some other, non-celebrity that you only hear about in the local papers, but they're still in a position of power over children.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why so many of these people end up in politics and in, positions of authority in different, different power structures around the world. It's something that really needs to be looked at. We'll get into that.
We'll get into that next one. So next show, definitely don't have the kids in the room for this one. Because it'll definitely be a little darker than what we talked about today.
Oh yeah, we'll give you the not safe for kids warning.
Exactly.
I'm going to talk about something like that. So we'll see you next week. God bless.
Take care and God bless.
You can do better than that.
Oh yeah.
You were in the zone! We just drinking, now's the time.